Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've got Darren Little here with the MLM Superheroes, and we are live right now on an international call, on an international broadcast, broadcasting to all four corners of the world. Guys, what I want to do here today is I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk to you about the time continuum. I want to talk to you about self-love. I want to talk to you about your communication with the electrons, with your body, okay? And I want to talk to you about speaking your reality into existence and how the combination between your proclamations, your vision board, which is the gateway from one reality to the next reality. Okay, this is critically important, guys. And we're just, talking about this briefly here with Chad before you came on here, Kevin, is that what I want for you guys to understand here today is that the gateway to your future, the future reality that you want, this dream thing that you want to manifest in your reality, is actually by cleaning up your past. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, guys. I'm going to tell you this. If you're making $60,000 a year and you expect to make $250,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, you are going to have to go through some Kleenex, some tissue, okay? And you're going to have to start peeling back layers of the onion, okay, to start to get to the core. Okay, now what's the core? The core of our being, okay, is self-love. And the human condition is to not feel worthy or deserving of the abundance flow, so we actually create this blocker, pushing it back like this, right, instead of just letting it in and allowing it. Okay, so the resistance that you experience in your reality is because you don't feel worthy or deserving and love yourself enough just to go and stop the struggle. Okay, does that make sense to you guys when I'm talking about this stuff? Okay. So, in my Unleash the Alpha Within, we're going to package all of the stuff that we're working on right now into this special sauce, okay? It's going to be called Manifestation Magic. And I'm going to spend a little bit more detailed time to really, really type it out so that people can read about how it works and talk about it on little modules like this so that they can go through this whole process so they can really understand what they have to do, okay? Because if you guys want to make big money, you're going to have to be okay with being vulnerable, guys. And I'm not going, I can't sugarcoat this in any way other than to tell you that, yes, you are going to face your fears. Yes, you're going to be scared shitless because you're going to go into a completely unknown zone that's not the three-dimensional world. It's not the three-dimensional reality. In fact, when you go through all of this training, right, and you start to go through alpha training and you start to connect with your inner child by cutting around all of these little things and using the X-Acto knife and putting on the glue stick and putting all this stuff together, you're going to start having flashbacks, right, to like grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, right? You're going to start remembering your teachers from elementary school and going through, and you'll be like, what? Like, where did that all come from? Does that make sense when I'm telling you guys about this stuff? Okay? So the gateway to this other reality is going to be actually backwards in looking at your timeline, looking at the relationship with your parents, right, with your mom and your dad, and their relationship together, and how you intertwined in that relationship. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Now I'm pretty intuitive when it comes to this stuff, right? Because I can, you know, I don't know what they call it. It's like an empath or something like that. Like I can feel in my body when I'm talking to a person, and I can see into the time continuum, right? Now, here's an example. And I hope you're okay with me sharing this, Chad. I just want to give Kevin an example. So, you know, I have visions, and when I'm talking to a person, I get messages of what's back there. There's something back there that's this Rubik's Cube that needs to be solved in order to advance. Okay? Now, in Chad's particular situation, I said, you know, Chad, have you been doing the daily mirror work, right? Because the daily mirror work connects you through your reflection into the time continuum to the 5-year-old inner child inside of you, right? That just needs to know that everything's going to be okay. It just needs to have a hug, okay? So I said, you know, Chad, tell me more about your childhood. You know, like, are your parents still alive? Yes, they're still alive. Are they still together? No, they're not. I go, really? You know, well, tell me more about that, right? When did they split up? When I was 5. Now, there's no accidents here, guys. Okay, it's not accidental. So I said, oh, that's really interesting. So tell me about that situation, right? Now, when he started to talk about it, here is the natural thing. Can you guys hear me? Okay, Chad? Kevin? Okay. Edward says it's choppy. Maybe it's your internet connection, Edward. I don't know. Maybe you've got a storm there in the location or something like that. That's possible. So typically, what happens, guys? Just so you know, us as human beings, what happens? What is our safety mechanism? It's our protection, right? When we look at our timeline and we actually talk about things that are really deep, like at the core, that are emotional, that hurt, right? That hurt us. We put a protective mechanism there, and we actually laugh about it, right? But that's our protection, right? Because it hurts too much. So we almost you know, push this thing away because it hurts too much deep down inside. If you guys want to make big money, okay, you're gonna have to be okay with letting that stuff open up. Okay? So we as humans, we hold all of this emotion inside of our body, and most of it's held right here in this area of our chest. Okay? It's right around our power chakra. Okay? Now, in this area, if that emotion does not come out of your body, your physiology in your body cannot raise its resonance to a higher vibrational frequency. When I talk about success being a radio broadcast station, it's a radio tune. So as an example, what's the radio broadcast when you're listening to country music, right? Maybe it's 92.9, right? And maybe rock and roll is at 101.4. They're all on a different frequency on that dial, right? So wherever they're at on that dial is the music that you start to hear. Success and manifestation is exactly the same as that, okay? So when I talk about, you know, like getting a bunch of black card members in as an example, that has a certain vibrational resonance to it, a certain frequency, just like a radio station, okay? And what I have to be able to do is tune in my body, my physiology in my body, to the future reality of what does that feel like? That future reality of what does that feel like in my body, right? Now, your body cannot raise its frequency with the stuff going on inside. Not possible, guys. So people wonder why they will brush up against the wall and then they don't do it. Or Kevin, we were talking about, last week or something, and you said, I recognize my pattern, right? Because my pattern would be, and you went ba 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 ba, right? But now I'm in a higher state of recognition where I'm catching it and I'm going, okay, now you got it. Now you've advanced. Does that make sense when I talk about that? Okay. So tell me about that, Kevin. Tell me about what your breakthrough was about your pattern, the repetition. Because you've had 2 or 3, and you've only been really into mentoring now for about a couple weeks, really, right? But you've had 2 or 3 significant breakthroughs. One was taking action immediately to do the video and getting it up. Another one was just recognizing the pattern or the frustrational pattern and throwing in the towel. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, in the past, I would just I'd start feeling, I could feel it in my chest, I guess, and it'd be in my gut, and I'd start having doubts and things like that, and I'd kind of let it take me over and start overwhelming me, and then I started working on trying to recognize those things and just when I recognized them, immediately start, whether I just do simple affirmations or just saying something positive like, I am going to get through this, or I am going to be successful, and just keep doing that until the feeling passed, and then, or I may do mirror work as well, like if I start to feel it coming on, but the main thing is just being able to, the fact that I'm recognizing it so quickly now, whereas before I'd kind of let it linger. So I'm just more aware of how I feel from time to time, and I'm able to address it before it gets out of control. And that's probably the biggest thing as far as a breakthrough, I would say.
Awesome, awesome. Well, the great thing about this right now, Kevin, just so you know, and maybe you've never had a support system. That could be a big part of your breakthrough right now, is you've never actually had a mentor that you can talk about some of this stuff and talk it through to get to the other side. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And a team that you can connect with that'll help to lift you up like this to take you to the next level. Does that make sense? Okay. So, guys, what I want to address here, and you'll be able to watch this later on the recording, Edward says to me, he says, from what little I hear, because he's getting a little bit of a choppy broadcast, I'm hearing about frequency and broadcast, and I understand that if I have several bad days in life, what do you suggest to do in order to get back into the right mindset? Sorry to ask that, but on my end, I'm getting really bad service with my internet, and it's supposed to be good. I need to check into that. Okay. So, great question. By the way, Edward, really good question. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys, okay? And I want for you to understand that, here we are in this three-dimensional reality, okay? But we all come from someplace, right? It's like the ocean. So picture you've got this vast ocean, and now you take 2 cups, you dip it into the water, you've got 2 people, and now you pour it out, and they're back into the ocean. That's kind of like the human life cycle, right? So what I want for you to understand is that emotions are actually an illusion, okay? Emotions are an illusion, okay? So nothing has any meaning in the reality other than the meaning that you give it, okay? And if you look at people in general, that have had some of the worst tragedies, like Og Mandino or Oprah Winfrey, about how she was pregnant at a really young age and she was cast out, and all unbelievable traumas that these people have gone through that have actually, a lot of people would have committed suicide, right? But why didn't they? Why did they go on to be authors and speakers and motivators and billionaires? What was the difference? The difference was their perception of the situation and how they digested it and what it meant to them, and the emotions, right, that they attached to it, right? So it's not until you can look at the reality from these different angles as the observer. Okay, now what do I mean by that? As the observer. Once you go through more training, guys, once you get more aware and you can pop your Pandora's box and, right, and take that inner journey, right? I call it, the journey into the abyss. What is that, right? Imagine that you're on the bed, right? You're lying on a bed, and you got your eyes closed, and all of a sudden the three-dimensional reality just goes, and you fall right through the bed into space, right? Imagine that, okay? So what I'm sharing with you here is that emotions are an illusion. But what causes emotion? Concentrated, focused thought. That's what causes emotions. Concentrated, focused thought. Repetitive thinking. Okay, so the secret to getting anything that you want out of life is thought, directed emotion that generates feeling. It's going to communicate with the electrons, right? So if you're having one of these, right, in a spiral, what it means is that all of your thoughts are thinking about everything that you don't want, everything that's stressing you out, and you're repeating it over and 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 over, and it's going to suck you down that rabbit hole. So the first thing that I tell people to do is you're going to have to learn how to disconnect from your emotions, okay? Now, how do you do that, okay? The first thing that you've got to do is you've got to lie down, okay? And you've got to get some relaxing nature music, right, that you can get on YouTube. Just look up nature, trickling river, or whatever, like that bird's chirping. You'll get something that's like that. And there's loops that run for an hour or 2 hours. What you do next is you want to focus on your breathing. Okay, you want to focus on your breathing. When you inhale, you want to inhale relaxation, and when you exhale, you want to exhale tension and visualize that there's black tar that's draining out of your fingers and your toes. Okay, start the energy going through your body. Okay. Now, what you're going to do, whatever it is that's bothering you, maybe it's a person, right? Maybe it's a situation that happened at work, right? Maybe it's your boss, right? Maybe it's an ex. And what you're going to do now in your mind is you're going to visualize an umbilical cord, right, from you. This umbilical cord comes all the way out, and there's this thing that's really bothering you that's going to be floating out in space, okay? Now, what you're going to do first is you're going to cut the umbilical cord, okay? Step one. Now this thing's going to be floating, and then you're going to cut the umbilical cord from that thing, and you're going to see it blossoming into a bouquet of roses, okay? So you're there, you're in space, umbilical cord, the thing that's really bothering you, right? Okay, the machete on the umbilical cord, and going to turn into these blossoming flowers. Guys, I will tell you this. Whatever it is that's bothering you, I learned this from Dr. Poulos. Thank God, okay? That's all I can say. Thank God that I learned some of these strategies from my mentors, okay? Because they saved my life. Seriously. That one thing alone. Now, as you start to evolve and you pop your Pandora's box and you start going to another level, to a higher and higher and higher frequency, there's going to be an opening that happens and you're going to start to get universal download. Okay? Now, when that occurs, guys, I'll tell you what, when it happened for me, I thought I was going crazy. Okay? Because you get quotes, you get, you know, universal knowledge that starts downloading into your brain. Now, the way that you're going to be able to handle that is there's two exercises that you can do. The first one is, you know, back onto the bed, back onto the nature, and you're going to, in your mind, trace a sideways figure eight, which is an infinity pattern. Okay? Trace the sideways figure eight. Okay? That will calm your mind, because your mind will not be able to do the tracing and get the download at the same time. Okay, so that's one exercise. The other one is to visualize yourself in elementary school and visualize a green chalkboard with writing all over it, and you're going to go to the chalkboard, you're going to take the eraser, and you're going to start erasing all of that type, okay, on that board. Okay, erasing, 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 and your mind cannot think about the erasing and the thing that's bothering you at the same time.
You do me a favor and plug in.
What was that, Kev?
Sorry. Hold on.
Okay, so anyway, so back on what we were talking about here a little bit earlier with the time continuum. Because guys, I'm telling you this, some of the stuff that I talk about in my training, you might first of all hear it and go, huh? Like, how's that work? That's what is he talking about? What is he talking about elementary school? What is he talking about connecting with the inner child, doing the vision board and cutting around these little things? What is he talking about, right? The gateway to that successful future, guys, is back there, right? It's going to be cleaning up those relationships. And a lot of that is going to be attached to the human condition, just so you know, okay? 4 key things: deservability, worthiness, self-love, and boundaries. Those 4, okay? Now, how do you master the 4? You master the 4 by mastering the 3. Your thoughts, your words, and your emotions, right? So what you think about, what you speak, and what you write, and your emotional connection to that stuff back there is what's going to be your breakthrough. Does that make sense to you guys when I'm talking about this stuff? Right? So, Kevin, what you're going through right now, just so you know, what your pattern has been, just so you can understand what's actually been going on for you, okay, is that the closer that you get to your breakthrough, the more that the emotions are going to start bubbling up. That when you're talking about, I feel this thing in my chest, you might get hot, you might get flustered, right? That's all that stuff bubbling up, just so you know, right? Now, the pattern is to want to go in the opposite direction of that, right? Because it's the unknown zone, right? And you don't know how deep that Pandora's box goes this way, okay? It goes to infinity, my friend. Okay, your journey is this way, inward, right? And in order to do that, you're going to have to what? Surrender, relinquish, love yourself. And I'm not going to, I'll tell you guys, it's going to be emotional, and you're going to go through Kleenex. Bottom line. Bottom line. Now, if you're okay with that, I can help you to speed up your success, right? If you're okay with just facing the fears and going through it, right? Not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to go through some Kleenex, not being afraid to shed a few tears, not being afraid to connect with your inner child, not be afraid to love yourself enough to forgive yourself. Love yourself enough to stop the pain and suffering. because it's all us, guys. We're the director of the movie, right? It's us that's creating it. So we will come through these events in our lives where we're put to the test. We're put to the test. Why? So that we will look at the reflector. What is it trying to get you to look at in your past to clean up so that you can advance forward and go into the next reality, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? Okay. Richard, are you there? You want to unmute for a sec? Or are you still at work? Richard?
No. Oh, here it comes.
Okay. Okay, so, Richard, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so what I want to talk to you a little bit about right across the panel here, because I want everybody to sort of, open up a little bit here. And guys, I will tell you this one thing right now. There's massive strength in vulnerability. Okay? And your vulnerability is going to be your gateway, just so you know, just so you know. And as you start to open up to be able to talk about some of these things, it's a chain reaction all the way down the line, just so you know, guys. So something that Richard talks about will be a breakthrough for Chad. Something Chad talks about will be a breakthrough for Kevin, right? We're all interlinked, guys. Okay, we're all connected like the ocean, right? Now, if you just accept that to be true and realize that all of us came from the ocean and we're going to go back into the ocean. We're in these little receptacle devices right now as humans, right? But we're going to go back into the ocean, right? Pour it back out, okay? So, Richard, here's the interesting thing. You got a lot of talent. You've got a lot of skills. You've got a lot of ability to speak. You've got a lot of ability to create content. Tell me, what is your blocker?
Hmm. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, okay. What is my blocker? That's $1 million question. I think my blocker probably is the. Let me think. Sometimes I do ask myself this question: what is my blocker? And I would agree with you 100%, Darren, when you mentioned some things in reference to the past. Because I think a couple weeks ago, when you and I had a conversation and my wife and I was talking, and I used the term, if you ever heard this term called chemelization. In other words, when you're changing your mindset or you're putting in new ideas, the old ideas come to a surface. The old beliefs come to a surface, and you find yourself in a situation where you have to make a decision. Are you going to go to the path of what you desire, or are you going to easily go back to what is comfortable? And I remember you and we talked in length. I think it was about an hour. And there was a moment that I had, and I believe that the moment changed for me, and I needed it. I went through a period of tremendous frustration. I went through a period where I was very angry at the time, and I sat back for a moment in a quiet place and wanted to figure out what was happening, what was going on, and it hit me. I said, I know what's happening. I desire to be here, and until I deal with whatever beliefs and thoughts I've had here, it's almost like the universe is saying, I want you here, but I can't get you here until you get rid of this. And so I truly believe that I'm in that I'm headed in that direction, because I truly believe in the idea of surrendering or letting go, allowing. Uh, I think you use the term quite a bit when you're talking about the ego. I use the acronym for ego as edging God out or edging the universe out. Just allowing the good, the things that you desire, just allow it to be without strain, without struggle. And I probably on one hand, there's a belief with me that I have to get it done. I have to get it done, and I believe that I do the work, I do the things that are necessary. But I believe there's a point where you can do what you need to do in a calmness without strain. So I think the pressure of stepping up to the plate, not wanting to fail, because I built my last church that I built, uh, was a tremendous setback for me because I was really excited about it. We taught quantum physics and I was really excited, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, and I didn't know why, and that was a tremendous setback for me. And to jump all in, I was a little hesitant, because of what happened in the past. And so so I think that me, just stepping out on that limb, just going, not looking back, and also not being afraid to allow those things to come to the surface, because I have to recognize them and in peace let them go, because even all of my failures were part of that journey to bring me here, so I don't have to regret anything in my past, and just let it be. So I think my only blockage, daring, is going all in, but going all in knowing that I will succeed. I think that's the thing. Going in knowing that I will succeed. This is not number one of those things that I'm, quote, trying to do, trying to make it work. No, I will fulfill my dream and the things I want. So I think it's just going in with trust and going in with confidence.
Okay, and you just really, really nailed something there, my friend, because here's what I'm going to tell you. I believe that there's something that stems back in your past, right? And it has to do more than the belief. It has to do with feeling that you actually deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the area. It has to do with your self-worth. And you're going to have to start to look back in the timeline, and it normally stems back to something that either your dad or that your mom said to you at a certain time, at a pinnacle point. You could have been 5 years old, you could have been 9, you could have been, going to the corner store to get some milk. You could have been in a situation where, your mom was pulling out some money and she was going to give it to you, and then your dad said, "Oh, don't give it to him, he'll probably lose it." Something like that affects our entire past. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So what I would put out to you, man, is that there's nothing that can, question your talent. There's nothing that can question your skill. None of that. It's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put yourself into that situation of being the front runner in your quantum physics stuff or your church or whatever, right, in the event that you were not congruent with the abundance at that frequency, the universe has to realign itself, right, and pull it away.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the frequency works. That's the way you broadcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you're being is not feeling deserving and worthy of that, and you don't love yourself enough just to allow it to be that way, the universe will, okay, well then I guess we'll take it away then if you don't feel worthy of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, and that's where the daily mirror work is critical. But I would put out to you this right here, okay, this right here, what I'm doing right now. Guys, I don't have there's not a whole 10 people across here.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to me because I know this. When I said, okay, who wants to do millionaire mentoring right now? And there was like, I do, right? So it started off with just me and Chad. We were having a conversation. But I started to have visions, right? And the visions were actually about the mirror work, about that. The whole thing, man. That's how this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get some universal message. Oh, okay, you better time to do a millionaire mentoring session, Darren. Right? So I go into the group and said, okay, hey, who's available for millionaire mentoring? Because something's gonna happen, right? That I got to talk about. I might as well just share it with the world, right? That's the best way to do it. Help other people to have their breakthrough, right? But Chad right now is in a really interesting zone because he's in between two realities right now, right? And he's on the cusp between two realities. And when I see somebody on the cusp between two realities, I want to pour everything that I know to help them break through to the next one, right? Because they're almost through, and all they got to do is just go and walk in, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the gateway is actually backwards. Now, with Chad, we identified it. Something. It's right around 5 years old when his parents split up, right? And there's a lot of stuff there that needs to be resolved before he can advance. Okay? If he does not resolve it, this situation will continue. Two realities, two realities, two realities. He'll be able to see it, but he won't be able to walk into it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're, ironically or not, are in the exact same spot. How about that? Okay, how about that? Now, is it a coincidence that the other guy that was available at this particular time was Kevin? You realize that Kevin is in the same spot. He's right on the edge between two different realities, and the good news is, going through the millionaire mentoring, he's actually moved into a higher state of self-awareness that he actually is recognizing it now, where he's able to talk about it openly in a forum like this and go, okay, well, now I recognize my pattern. I can see my pattern. Because just so you guys know, we will replay our pattern over and over and over until we get a breakthrough.
That'd be true.
Then we can advance.
Yep.
No breakthrough, we're still in our spinner. We're in the spin cycle. Make sense?
That makes sense. It's true.
So, Kevin, let me ask you this. Talk to me, because you've had some really good ones in this last little bit. The action thing, recognizing your pattern. What I'm going to share with you right now is that feeling that's in your chest. You're talking about that heat and stuff. That's the tip, right, of your moving from your calling. That's called the calling, just so you know, okay? That's moving from the calling into the awakening, okay? And in my Unleash the Alpha Within training, which I highly recommend that you spend some time on, right, over this next week, you're going to have, I would recommend, if you're close, to go to a forest, okay? Go to a forest and try and get around some old trees, okay, big trees, okay? Walk through a little nature. You got a nature park or something around your area where you live?
Yep.
Okay? Where there's nobody. Can you go right in the middle of the forest where there's nobody around? Can you do that?
I do.
Okay. Here's what I
I
want
know
you to do.
exactly where to go.
Here's what I want you to do. I want for you to go to the forest, and I want for you to ask the universe, right? Scream it out to the trees that you are ready to go to the next level, right? That you're ready to face your fears, that you are ready to deal with all the emotions, that you're going to free your body from all this stuff, and you're prepared, and bring it! And scream it out to the universe. Okay, I'm talking about, like, seriously, like, belt it out. I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready. I'm finished with this last reality. I'm ready to step into my next level of my power. Right? That's what will start to trigger the process. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now here's what I will tell you guys. Is that because what's going on in here, right? You don't know what comes next. So what happens with most people when it starts to bubble up, they push it back down because it's too scary, because you don't know, what's going to go on. These emotions start coming on, you get flustered, your ears get hot, right? There's this feeling in your chest. Am I right or no? Kevin? Am I right? Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Okay, so what I will share with you here is that the times that this has happened in your timeline, Kevin, okay, that's you brushing up against the wall of the next reality. Okay, you're brushing up, and then that was your pattern. You're brushing up, right? It's like the butterfly in the cocoon, right? The caterpillar. So, right? But as that's happening, what's happening? Its wings are forming inside in the cocoon, right? So once a person gets to the end of the first level in the game, right, which, just so you guys know, is called victimhood, once that happens, guess what happens next? Does anybody, do any of you guys know what happens next? The spiral. And the spiral happens, and it will get more and more and more and more and more painful until you take full 100% ownership that it's all you doing this to yourself. Nobody else. And you've got to get to that part in the reality to get to finally just surrendering, relinquishing, and loving yourself to feel worthy and deserving, that abundance is your birthright, that there's not enough money in the world that can pay you for your worth, and it's been you all along, doing it to you. Does that make sense? And it's going to be emotional. Oh well, so what? Right? It's better than going through this pattern back and forth, right? And keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, thinking that the result is going to change. It won't. It will not change. The pattern will keep on going until you finally will go through the surrender. And in the Unleash the Alpha Within, vision board, the proclamations, opening the vortex, step 4. Okay? Step 4. That's the part where you got to get through. And it's going to be emotional. Right? Does that make sense, Chad?
100%.
Now, Chad, have you gone through alpha training and actually done those steps, or just watched it?
So far, I've just watched it.
Okay. Now we're okay. Now we're getting someplace. Okay.
I do have someone who I've shared the video with as well, you know, so that would be the next step as far as completing the assignments. I actually shared that video with them a long time ago.
Okay.
Can't hear.
Pat. Pat.
Can you hear me?
Well, we can hear your fan, that's for sure. You got to get that thing in and get that fixed because it's really, really loud.
The laptop.
Really? Is it that bad? Because I don't hear it that bad. Okay, well, I've been watching you on YouTube.
Okay, you must have hit it. So it's
What you're saying is so mind blowing that I just had to jump in here. So anyway.
cool. So let me ask you this, Pat, because guys, I want you to really understand what's going on here, okay? Because I talk about something and I say that success is a radio broadcast frequency, right? Do you know that every single person that showed up for today's session is all in the exact same place between these two realities and touching on that wall?
Yeah.
All of you. It's not coincidental, guys, just so you know. No coincidence here. That's how it works. Right? That's exactly how it works. So what I would put out to you is that, a lot of people will go through my training, but they never actually do the assignments. They watch the video, right? Pat, give your computer another whack on it for a second.
Better?
Oh, a little bit, yeah. It's definitely your fan. It's dirty, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay? So, what I'm going to suggest to all of you is to go through my Unleash the Alpha Within training, and I'm gonna post the three-dimensional vision board in the group, okay? Because it looks three-dimensional, just so you know. There's horizon lines off in the distance, and there's between the ring that's in the front and the sun that's in the back, it might be 25 miles or something in that far off in the distance. That's three-dimensional, okay? So the vision board has to be three-dimensional, number one. Number two, your I am proclamation statements have to create emotion, So, you could say, I'm driving an Aston Martin, or you could say, I'm driving an Aston Martin. The difference between those two, okay? So the I am proclamation statements you're going to say into the vortex. Now, what I typically do, if I want to connect with my physiology and my body, is when I do my proclamation statement, after I'm done, I'm doing my 10, I do like I'm Rocky on top of the mountain. Yes, yes, yes! Right? Now, the first time that you do it might feel a little bit like wonky. Your body's going to be going like, what just happened? Right? But as you start to do it more, there'll be a whoosh of energy that will go through and you'll get goosebumps down your body. That, guys, is called the quantum boom. Okay? Now, once your body starts to wake up to this feeling in your physiology of your body, you will start to feel your body communicating with the electrons. Okay? That's why I say 3 times per day, speaking the reality into existence, proclamations, vision board, right? Talking about what you want, feeling about what you want. What would that preferred statement for preferred reality actually feel like? So the next one is going to be opening the vortex, right? Now when you do the opening the vortex, you're going to have a grid like this, right? Like these little squares. Now down the side, you're going to have health and fitness, right? Spiritual, emotional, family relationships, career travel, financial goals and material things, and contribution, giving back, and making a difference. 6 categories. Across, you're going to have 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Okay. Now, I don't recommend to open up more than 5 years of the time continuum. Okay, because you can literally implode if you do. Okay. Because keep in mind, you're battling the human condition, which is deservability, worthiness, self-love, and boundaries. And if all of this stuff comes whooshing at you so fast, guess what happens? You'll implode like Justin Bieber. Right? That's what he went through. Right? He went from nothing to 200 million, and what ended up happening? He was on antidepressants, drugs. He ended up getting a criminal record, right? That's all human condition stuff, guys, just so you know. Deservability, worthiness, self-love, boundaries, right? And if he doesn't have anybody explaining to him what's going on, guess what's going to happen? Ego, 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 right? He'll either end up dead, right, or in jail. One of the two. And he's pretty close. He's riding the line between being dead, right, drug overdose, car accident, DUI, whatever, right, and not even being here anymore. How about that? From the guy that went from 0 to 200 million to dead. That's how it works. If he doesn't get this stuff down, if he doesn't figure this stuff out, he won't be here, right? And there's tons of other case studies, and if you look at the kid from Home Alone, he's whacked out on drugs. He's like a little tiny skinny rail, right? Look at John Belushi. He's not here anymore, right? Kurt Cobain, OD, right? How's that work? How can these people have that level of success and kill themselves on drugs? Look at Michael Jackson, right? Loved by the whole world, right? But shooting heroin, right? And they've got pictures of his leg where it's completely raw skin, like that's from heroin, from shooting heroin, right? So how could that be, guys? All of those people are battling the human condition. So don't think that at these lower levels, as you're breaking through and stepping into your power, that you're not going to be faced with the same shit, because you are. You're going to face your fear, you're going to face your stuff, you're going to face your ego, and once you get through, you're riding a fine line between, your ego over here and complete implosion and being a humble and servant leader. Two realities, right? They both exist simultaneously, right? And you're literally riding a tightrope between two realities. Every single thought, every single word, and every single emotion. Riding a tightrope, guys, okay? No joke. So you've got to start to, if you really want to advance to the next level, and I talk about all the time in my training, okay? You got to start to ask yourself some real tough questions, okay? Like, how about this one? Why don't I believe that I can be a leader? What exactly is it that I'm afraid of? Because do you realize that's what your blocker is? That's what's stopping you from advancing to the next level. Okay, so this right here, what we're doing right here, guys, today, there's 3 people, there was 4 people and me, right? This is called leadership. Now, am I broadcasting to 2,000 people right now? No, but 2,000 people could very easily see this over the course of time, right? But this is stepping into your power to go to the next level, right? You don't have to know everything, right? And you don't have to feel that you're being judged in any way, because if you've learned something, you can share it with a little group of people, like this, right? This right here is the missing link for the majority of people that get into a home-based business. They never actually do this. Well, I don't know how to do it, Hangout. right? Well, did you go to YouTube and type in, you know, how to do a Google Hangout? That'd be a good place to start, right? So what if the first one doesn't work? Big deal. So what? No biggie. Do another one, right? The easiest way to become a leader, guys, I'll tell you what it is. Start with nobody. Talk to the screen. Do screen share and do a couple PowerPoint slides, or just go to Facebook and do some live recruiting. And if it turns out good, and talk to the screen on why you're going to do what you're going to do. Okay, check this out. I'm over here. I'm over there. Oh, see this guy over here? Oh, let's go. We're going to go talk to him. Okay, we're going to pull this up. Just talk openly. Right now, here's what you'll find. After you do this a couple of times, you're going to start to watch you, and you're going to have a breakthrough from you. You're going to hear your voice, and you're going to be having a breakthrough listening to you. It's phenomenal. Okay, I'll tell you this, is once you just accept that, as that's how this works, stepping into a leadership role, you will become a copper wire, a channel. Okay? So you might be doing a call and get inspired, and it's your voice is talking, but it's not until you listen to the recording that you even realize what you said. Am I right, Richard, with that? Bang on, right?
You're speaking 100% truth, my friend.
Right? So what I will tell you guys is that, you know, the only way to walk on fire in bare feet is to trust the process, to walk forward in complete blind faith, to surrender to a higher power, and to know that you will be protected. The only way you can walk on fire, guys. How about that? There's no other way. If you doubt any of those things, you will get burnt. You will get burnt. You will have third-degree burns on your feet. If you doubt the process, if you do not have faith and belief, and you do not believe that you're protected, you're done. And there are people that have been burnt. When we did the first firewalk here in Vancouver, there was 2,500 people. Okay, the coals were so hot that they had to replace all of the stone tile outside of the World Trade Convention Center. That's how hot. There was 2,000-degree burning hot coals, and all of us walked except for one guy. One guy didn't walk. Now, why didn't he walk? Why do you think that he didn't walk, guys?
Fear.
He did not follow the directions of the mentor. So the mentor said, do not look at the coals. What did he do? He looked at the coals, right? And he couldn't break that mental barrier that that's 2,000 degrees and I'm going to get burnt. Now, when I walked out to walk across the coals, I was looking at the stars, okay? Because that's what they told me to do. I was focused on that, right? I was literally walking up there looking at the sky, looking at the sky, looking at the sky, and then I was, you know, you get in your spot, right? And then you do your action step, right? You get into peak state, bah, 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 and they can tell by your pupils. All they got to do is look at your pupils, and your pupils go, whoa. Okay, walk. And I walked, and I've done that fire walk, guys, two times, one in Atlanta and one here in Vancouver. The glass walk, where you walk across shattered glass in bare feet, guys, right across the shattered glass. I've done that like, I don't know, 7, 8 times at the Attracting Force, The Secret Beyond the Secret. That was another personal development event. So what I will tell you is this: if you are prepared to trust this process that I'm teaching and just surrender and just realize the emotions are going to come up. Okay, there's no way to get around it if you want to advance. Okay. Now I can tell you this: I've had two of my students. Okay, and I won't bother telling you their names, but I'll tell you this: one of them went from 10 years of failure to multiple six figures that couldn't get a team going, that now has teams of 15,000 people and bigger, right? And I told him what was going to happen, right? He was going through my training, and he was driving down the street this one day, and all of a sudden, started happening, right? It started happening, the emotions, right? He pulled over, he sat in a park, and these emotions kept on coming out for a solid hour. For a solid hour. What the heck is that? Somebody calling me? Okay. So basically what happened, another guy that has now been featured in a book, right, through JV Zoo, he basically was in the shower this one day, guys. It started. He ended up, curled up in a little ball in the corner of the shower for almost an hour, right? Just the emotions were coming out. He's bawling his eyes out, bawling his eyes out. Couldn't stop it, right? Couldn't stop it. But look what's happened now. You know, he just got a brand new home. You know, they've launched their own marketing membership site. I mean, he called me the other day and he said, Darren, you know, I just can't even believe what's transpired in my life since I've gone through your training. But today I'm celebrating a $5,000 day. This is one of my students that are telling me this story, right? So anyway, we'll wrap it up here, guys, for now. Chad, what we were talking about earlier about some of that past stuff, you know, if you can maybe just make a commitment that you're going to start looking in that area, because I think that's really going to help you.
100%, for sure.
Go through the alpha training, start working on the assignments. You know, Kevin, what you're going through right now, pal, is you're on the scratching the surface of the calling, which comes right. You know, the next part is the awakening, and you're just going to have to be prepared to be vulnerable, my friend. There's no way to get around it, bro. Okay, you're at the end of level 1 now. You're ready to advance to the next level, and Richard. No coincidence, bro. You're in the same spot right now. You know, right across the board, right? So, you know, out of all of the people, Richard, just so you know, you're probably the most advanced as a speaker and as a content creator. But the missing link is this: what we're doing right here today. This right here is the missing link for you, right? Because I've never seen any of this. With you as the guy, right, talking about whatever, right, or watching my automation mastery, right, and then doing a little thing, getting some data, and then doing a thing about automation mastery. It's not like you don't have all of the data, the other data to explain how it works, right? The only thing different would be that you're the narrator doing the screen share, right? But you've got the skill level to be able to step to that next level right now. Does that make sense to you, bro? And that's the missing link, because you're not going to get paid CEO income, guys, without being a CEO doing the CEO activities. Just so you know, guys. A lot of people, I want to make $25,000 a month, right? I want to make $50,000 a month. Okay. If you really are serious, then you got to ask yourself, who would pay you $25,000 a month to be doing the activities that you're doing? Nobody. Honestly, and if they did, they'd be foolish, right? Because it's not $25,000 a month in value of giving back to the world. And it's like the law of reciprocity, right? If you're not contributing that much to other people, right, as a leader and stepping up and facing your fears and getting over to the other area, you know, the universal abundance works no different, guys, than your boss giving you a raise, just so you know, okay? just so you're aware. If you are not going through this and not getting through these barriers and facing your fears, getting these emotions out of your body and stepping over the fire, what are you getting the raise for? Think about it. Right? So if you're going to ask for a raise, if you're not doing any more work at a conventional job, is your boss going to go, you know what, I think we're going to give you an extra $150,000 this year because you're just a nice guy, you know? Thanks a lot for showing up today. All right? That's not going to happen, right? Okay, so Chad Turner, any closing thoughts?
It's been a great session, and yeah, I mean, just staying plugged in to me keeps me on a positive path, you know, so I'm active in the group, and it's crazy how sometimes you don't see as many people as you, really our whole lineup, we should have 10 people across the bottom here, but that doesn't happen all the time, you know, so happy to see Kevin and, you know, and Richard here with us, so we're moving forward.
Fantastic. And one thing that I want you guys to really understand about this, you know, is that Kevin, like, just for you just to be here is a massive breakthrough, pal. You got to give yourself a huge pat on the back for the fact that you're willing to drop everything like that just to show up here. Because most people won't.
Exactly.
That's the problem. That's the problem with success. That's the problem with people going to the next level. Now, here's the interesting thing. Richard, it wasn't until him and I actually had a one-on-one, right? And then guess what? Boom, Richard's up. Richard's in his zone now. Richard's tapped in, right? One conversation, guys. Here's what I want for you to understand. One single conversation. Okay, I had a 90-minute conversation with Stacy, right, who said there was no possible way that she could go black card, right? Wasn't even in her reality. Something happened in that conversation, in our exchange. Something happened. Something magical, right? 2.5 weeks later, not only did she manifest all the money to go black card, but more. She needed $4 grand. She manifested 5,500. Right now, that's coming from somebody that 2.5 weeks earlier said, "I don't even have any money. I don't even have $100." Right, and poof, the gateway open. Pow, manifestation magic. How about that? So, any closing thoughts at all, Kevin?
Basically, just you know, touch on what Chad said about everybody showing up and being together and kind of helping each other get through. You know, I think that's important. I feel like we're all in this together, and you know, just we should continue to support each other in the group and everything. And you know, if there's any way any one of us can help the other one, I think we should go out of our way to do it. You know, it's like you said about being here. You know, I saw the opportunity to come in, and it's like I've talked to you before. You know, I'm at the point to where I'm like, whatever it takes. If it takes for me to come here for things to change, then that's what I'm going to do. You know, and you know, I have full 100% support from my wife. She actually encourages me to sit in on these calls. She doesn't complain about, oh, you're not spending time with me, because she wants it just as bad. She wants change just as bad as I do. She wants me around more. So you know, it's, you know, that's when you got all the support, it does make it easier. And like I said, that's why us supporting each other helps the whole group as a whole. That's about it.
Fantastic. Richard, any closing comments?
Well, I would say this. I've been involved in the network marketing industry, been involved with 4 or 5 different businesses. And I will say this much. This is the first time that I've actually had a mentor. Many of the other companies that I was involved in, I basically did many of the work on my own. You know, I reached some success. I didn't retire. I didn't quit my job, but I had some success, but I joined iPass and Empower because of the many videos that I watched before I even met Darren, for the first time. So I watched his previous videos, and it was intrigued. It was very intriguing. I was like, wow. So I'm listening to this. I'm listening to this, and it was one night about 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, you know what? I'm you know I'm just gonna be a part of this, because some of the things that you were sharing, I've never heard anyone teach on a level that not only do you deserve to be successful and experience the wealth you deserve, but to clean up your past so that it doesn't come back and bite you later. In other words, you gave several examples of people who went from nothing to wealth, but they didn't deal with the past issues. So now the universe says, hey, you can hit the lottery tomorrow, but you still got to clean up the stuff. You're not going to be able to experience paradise now until you clean up. So it doesn't matter. So this conversation that we're having is phenomenal, because as we follow the journey, and as we take in everything that's being shared, and we work together, we're going to be such a light to so many people, because we're being transformed on all levels. And nobody wants to just be, listen, you're talking to me. I desire to have as much wealth that you can imagine. But I also realize that in order to have that, I have to be bigger. So with me becoming bigger, then I'm growing to the level of the wealth that I desire. You don't hear many people discuss that. I've been around a lot of people, and this is the first time that this type of discussion talks about growing up, growing to the level of a leader, so that the wealth or the things in your past don't come back and bite you in the butt later. And that's what we don't want. So very powerful, very empowering, and like the other gentleman has mentioned, yeah, we're here together. We're a team. And I'm truly inspired to be a part of the team, and this is the reason why I joined. I joined for this very reason. I never told Darren this, but I joined for this very reason, because of the other videos that he watched. It was different. It's very unique, and I recognize the importance of growing and continue to grow, so that you'll be that pure being. You can be rich, and you also can be that pure being that you're set apart. So I'm excited, and I'm all in. So Darren, thank you for listening to that higher voice inside of you and decide to have it. You could have waited until Sunday, but you decided to have it. So it's been a blessing.
Fantastic. That's so great. That's so awesome. Guys, you know what? I got to be honest with you. Like, that's really why I do this. There's so many different things that I could be doing, quite honestly. I came from the stock market. I came from venture capital and raising money. And there's a lot of things that I actually could be doing, right? Launching other businesses, launching other companies, putting deals together. I get calls all the time from my network of people that want me to come on board with their companies, the vice president of marketing, and roll out an international campaign for them, because that's really my specialty, is writing press releases, getting international exposure for companies, and taking them into their liftoff. But that's a financial gain. But it's not this. Can't get this from that, right? I can't watch people go through transformation and really become these amazing people on another path, right? I can only do that in a situation like this, right, to be able to have these type of conversations. Because the interesting thing, and what keeps bringing me back to this industry, is this is the core of this business for me, guys, is quantum physics, creating your own reality, right? Being able to manifest whatever you want in your world, right? And there's no better case studies or testimonials than people that have had nothing, that were homeless, that 6 months later were making 20 grand in a month, or 10 years of failure to multiple six-figure income earners. There's no other industry that can provide that to people with such a low risk and a low startup. And the only thing that they have to do is be able to face their fears, trust the process, and take responsibility for this, and for this. Because that's what's creating the reality. And until people realize that, until they're prepared to draw a line in the sand and say, we'll no longer stand for this reality any longer, and take ownership that you are the creator of it. You're the one that's creating that pain. You're the one that's creating that struggle. And until you love yourself enough to say, you know what? The struggle is over. I deserve greatness. I deserve abundance. Abundance is my birthright. There's not enough money in the world that can pay me for my worth. Until you get to that point, you cannot advance into the next level, guys. And I always say to people, you know, I put that graphic up, draw a line in the sand, right? Say that today is that day for me. I'm no longer going to put up with this any longer. And now start to be aware of this. Be aware of what you're writing and what you're speaking, right? Be aware of what you're feeling in your body. Because if you tap into that emotional future, guys, wham, the gateway's going to open and the abundance starts to flow. So if you're just sitting here, you're watching this for the very first time, here's what I will tell you. If you're in transition right now, and you're in a breaking point of your life, and you know that you deserve more, you know that you're ready for the next level, you know that you're ready, you know that you have these special gifts, these special talents, that it's your time. It's your time to share it with the world. It's your time to step into your power. It's your time to step into your greatness, to know that there's not enough money in the world that can pay you for your worth. Guys, my name is Darren Little from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, with the MLM Superheroes, and I look forward to meeting you in person one day, and I look forward to seeing you at the top. Bye for now.